Chapter 1501. On the sixth floating platform, Lu Ming continued to refine the heaven pathmark. After refining the heaven pathmark, Lu Ming opened his eyes and smiled. Peak level 3. Lu Ming muttered. His chaotic territory had finally reached peak level 3. The 200,000 origin stones were worth it. However, it wasn't easy to break through to level 4. A level 4 territory was equivalent to a middle Martial King's territory. There was a hurdle that wasn't easy to cross. Lu Ming stood up and looked at the seventh floating platform. He then turned around and looked at Silver City. Lu Ming didn't continue to go up. Instead, he took a step forward and landed below the floating platform. He could continue to go up the floating platforms as long as he paid the origin stones. He had to get the 500,000 contribution points from Silver City first. I passed the sixth floating platform, but you didn't. I've won the bet. Hand over 500,000 contribution points. Lu Ming looked at Silver City and said, 500,000 contribution points? What 500,000 contribution points? Silver City pretended to be dumb as he sneered. Lu Ming frowned. Silver City was obviously trying to renege on the bet by pretending to be dumb. Are you trying to act dumb? Hee hee, there are many people here who can be witnesses. Lu Ming said, Witnesses? Why didn't I hear it? I didn't hear it either. A few of Silver City's companions said coldly, Did you hear it? Silver City's cold eyes looked at the others. Many people's faces changed, and they looked fearful. Silver City was Yin Feng's cousin. Silver City's grandfather was the younger brother of Silver Dragon Valley Master. In Silver Dragon Valley, he had a strong backing and many people didn't dare to offend him. Although some people didn't like Silver City's character, they looked away and didn't say anything. Hee hee. Lu Ming sneered as a ray of light flashed in his eyes. I can be a witness. Just now, the two of you did make a bet. It was 500,000 contribution points. At this moment, a timid voice sounded. Swoosh. His words caused Blizzard Silver City and his companions to look towards the source of the voice. Lu Ming also looked over. It was a young woman. Her figure was petite, but her skin was fair. Her appearance was delicate and pretty, and she was extremely cute. At this moment, when Silver City's gaze swept over them, their faces turned pale, their bodies trembled, and they could not help but retreat. Little girl, what did you say? Yincheng said coldly. I don't want to lie. You two did make a bet just now. Although the young woman was very scared, she still spoke. Good, very good. The sharpness in Yincheng's eyes intensified. Murderous intent filled the air. What? When others speak the truth, you want to kill them. This is the style of the Silver Dragon Valley, just like Yin Feng. Looks like I have to report this to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Lu Ming sneered and took a step forward, standing in front of the young woman. Also, 500,000 contribution points. Hurry up and hand it over. Lu Ming continued. Haha, Lu Ming, you're really naive. I was just casually mentioning the bet before, but you took it seriously. We didn't even sign anything. Yincheng quibbled. So, everyone in the Silver Dragon Valley is like this. From top to bottom, they're all despicable people. What a disgrace to the Divine Dragon Valley. In my opinion, the Silver Dragon Valley is purely a malignant tumor of the Divine Dragon Valley. Sooner or later, it will be removed. Lu Ming shook his head and sneered. How dare you? Who do you think you are? How dare you criticize the matters of the Silver Dragon Valley? A young man beside Yincheng shouted. Lu Ming, you're the lawless one. You have no respect for the law, and you're harming your fellow disciples. Previously, you injured 3 of my junior brothers for no reason. I'm going to settle this with you. Yincheng shouted and pointed at the 3 young men beside him. The 3 young men looked pale, and their auras were weak. The coldness in Lu Ming's eyes intensified. Previously, his shout had injured the 3 of them, but it was only a minor injury. With the strength of their spiritual bodies, those minor injuries would have healed by now. But now, they looked as if they were seriously injured. It was obvious that they did it on purpose. Lu Ming, you injured the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley for no reason. How should you be punished? Now, hand over 500,000 contribution points as medical fees. Yincheng shouted in a domineering manner. Who are you? How dare you injure the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley? At this moment, a cold voice resounded from a floating platform. A figure floated down. It was a cold-looking young man. Senior brother Ding Mao. Yincheng and the others were overjoyed when they saw the young man. They quickly greeted him. Senior brother Ding Mao, it's Lu Ming. He injured the 3 disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley for no reason. I'm going to ask him to pay for the medical fees. Yincheng said. Lu Ming. When Ding Mao heard Lu Ming's name, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Murderous intent flashed across his eyes as he said coldly, "Himph. How can he be so lawless just because he's the direct disciple of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master? Ask him to pay for the medical fees and bring him to the Dragon Punishing Palace." Yes, Yincheng replied. He was emboldened. He stared at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, hurry up and hand over 500,000 contribution points. Follow us to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Some people at the side. The Silver Dragon Valley had gone too far. Originally, Yincheng and Lu Ming had made a bet of 500,000 contribution points. In the end, Lu Ming won. Not only did Yincheng not pay up, but they even pinned a big hat on Lu Ming. They wanted Lu Ming to hand over 500,000 contribution points and bring Lu Ming to the Dragon Punishing Palace. How despicable. However, they could only think about it in their hearts. So what if they were despicable? Who asked Yincheng and the others to be so powerful? What would Lu Ming do? Hand over or not? Many people looked at Lu Ming and guessed what Lu Ming would do. Haha. Lu Ming wore a calm expression, but the flicker in his eyes grew sharper. If you don't hand over 500,000 contribution points today, don't even think about leaving this place. Lu Ming said in a cold tone. The hearts of many shuddered. How arrogant. Lu Ming ignored the nonsense that the Silver City had said earlier. He wanted the Silver City to hand over 500,000 contribution points. Ding Mao's figure emitted a cold glow as he said, This guy is too stubborn. Take him down first. Bang, bang, bang. Yincheng and the others unleashed powerful auras. Lu Ming, how dare you? Kneel down at once. Yincheng yelled as he unleashed his cultivation and threw a punch in Lu Ming's direction. Yincheng's cultivation had reached the peak of the 5th layer Martial Dominator realm, while his domain had reached the 6th layer, granting him a shocking strength. The other 2 young men were 5th layer Martial Dominators with powerful strength too. You're the one kneeling down. Lu Ming's gaze turned cold. 2 rays of black light pierced out like divine swords, entering Silver City's body and bombarding his soul. After cultivating for a period of time, Lu Ming's godly sword technique had become extremely shocking. Chapter 1502. Bang! Lu Ming lashed out with his palm, causing the chaotic domain to form a giant palm print that crushed onto Yincheng's figure. Following a thud, Yincheng immediately dropped to his knees before Lu Ming. Previously, he had asked Lu Ming to kneel down, but now, he had knelt down himself. Following this, Lu Ming threw out 2 punches in succession. The terrifying force sent the other 2 young men flying, causing them to vomit mouthfuls of blood. At that instant, 2 of the young men with cultivation of the 5th layer Martial Dominator realm from the Silver Dragon Valley were sent flying, while the last one knelt before Lu Ming. The others nearby were dumbfounded. Lu Ming had grown stronger. His strength was even stronger than when he had killed Yin Feng. How shocking. Was he really a cultivator from a desolated island? He was unbelievably strong. They finally knew why the valley leader of the Cloud Dragon Valley had recruited Lu Ming as his disciple. The valley leader had recognized Lu Ming's talent. Buzz. At that instant, a shocking aura burst out from Ding Mao's body, causing a terrifying pressure to crush Lu Ming's figure. Bang! It felt like a huge mountain was crushing onto Lu Ming's figure. 7th layer Martial Dominator realm. Lu Ming's heart shuddered slightly. Ding Mao was a 7th layer Martial Dominator realm expert, a high-ranked Martial Dominator realm expert. Lu Ming, how bold of you to injure 3 disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley, and now you're attacking again. This person should be punished severely. I'll cripple your cultivation and hand you over to the Dragon Punishing Palace. Ding Mao snapped coldly as he took a step forward. A dragon's roar could be heard from his body. Whoosh! Following this, Ding Mao grabbed at Lu Ming's figure with his claw. In the process, Ding Mao's palm and arm emitted a brilliant silver glow, as a layer of silver dragon scales appeared on them. 13 accumulating blows. A long spear of the martial dominator realm appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a shudder, the spear transformed into a beam of light that pierced forward. Ding! The spear stabbed into Ding Mao's palm. Lu Ming felt an incomparably terrifying energy surge toward the spear, causing it to bend slightly. But in an instant, 10 bursts of power erupted from the long spear, forming an incomparably sharp aura, wanting to pierce through Ding Mao's palm. Ding Mao's expression changed, and he roared, his terrifying power exploding out. Bang! Lu Ming was shaken by this force and his body flew out. He crashed heavily into the wall of a snow mountain at the edge, causing the snow mountain to explode with a rumbling sound. But at the same time, Ding Mao also took a step back. 7th layer of the Martial Emperor realm, as expected of a high-level Martial Emperor. How powerful! With a thought, Lu Ming felt the blood and qi in his body churning. He almost spat out a mouthful of blood. This brat, killing intent exploded from Ding Mao's body. His hand was trembling slightly. The dragon scales on his palm had been shattered, and a trace of blood could be seen. His palm was almost pierced through by Lu Ming's spear. Kill! Roar! A dragon's roar could be heard. The silver glow on Ding Mao's body became even brighter, as if he had turned into a silver dragon, lunging at Lu Ming. At that instant, a giant hammer flew toward them from the entrance of the floating platform. The hammer tore through the air with a terrifying roar, aiming at Ding Mao. Ding Mao's expression changed greatly. He could not care less about Lu Ming. He let out a roar and threw his palms at the hammer. Dong! Dong! Ding Mao's palms collided with the hammer, resulting in 2 deafening vibrations. The terrifying sound waves caused many of the weaker cultivators to turn pale and retreat. Whoosh! The hammer was sent flying by Ding Mao, but Ding Mao himself was also sent flying back 100 meters. Only then did he land on the ground, his hands trembling. Bang! Bang! From the direction of the entrance, a tall and sturdy figure rushed over and caught the iron hammer. Every step he took caused the ground to rumble. How arrogant of the Silver Dragon Valley. A 7th layer Martial Emperor dares to attack my junior brother, a 3rd layer Martial Emperor. How embarrassing. The bulky figure spoke with a booming voice. The person was a young man with a bulky figure, who was 2 heads taller than Lu Ming. His muscles bulged like a ferocious dragon. He was holding a giant hammer in his hand. However, the hammer was quite unique, as its handle was longer than a person's body, while its head was the size of a water jar, giving it a shocking appearance. Tanto, it's you. Ding Mao glanced at the young man and said coldly, Tian Shui, 7th senior brother. Lu Ming's heart shuddered. The Valley Master of the Cloud Dragon Valley had only recruited 3 core disciples in the past 10 years. They were him, Xuaningxin, and Tian Shui, Lu Ming's 7th senior brother. It's your grandpa Tian Shui. Tian Shui let out a grin, before glancing at Lu Ming and saying, So you're my 9th junior brother, Lu Ming? Impressive. Thanks for your help, 7th senior brother. Lu Ming let out a smile. Haha, don't mention it. I'll teach these sons of bitches a lesson. Tian Shui let out a grin and glanced at Ding Mao with a ferocious look. Come, do you think you're that impressive? Let your grandpa Tian Shui have some fun with you. Tian Shui, if you dare to interfere, I'll take you down too. Ding Mao said coldly. How are you going to take me down? Tian Shui wore a ferocious look as his muscles bulged as he stomped his foot on the ground. Bang! Tian Shui's figure sprang toward Ding Mao like a ferocious dragon, while the giant hammer in his hand was swung in his direction. Rumble! It was as if the giant hammer had penetrated the rift, resulting in a terrifying gust of wind. A silver glow burst out from Ding Mao's body as a layer of silver dragon scales appeared on his body. A pair of silver gloves appeared on his hands. The gloves of a martial dominator weapon. Silver Dragon Battle Fist. Ding Mao uttered a roar as he lashed out with both fists. Dong! Ding Mao's fist collided with the giant hammer, causing the sky to tremble vigorously. Tian Shui and Ding Mao's figures shuddered violently as they were knocked backward. Following this, they uttered furious roars and collided with one another once again. Peak 5th Layer Martial Dominator Realm with a 6th grade domain. Senior Brother Tian Shui, such a powerful strength. Lu Ming observed from the side and was secretly astounded by Tian Shui's strength. A cultivation of the peak 5th Layer Martial Dominator Realm with a 6th grade domain was able to fight against Ding Mao, who was a 7th Layer Martial Dominator Realm. It seems like none of my senior brothers and sisters are easy to deal with. Lu Ming wore a smile. Kill, 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 kill. At that instant, Tian Shui let out a roar as he became more excited as the battle progressed. It was as if he had transformed into a ferocious dragon as he lashed out at Ding Mao with his giant hammer. Gradually, Ding Mao was at a disadvantage as he was suppressed by Tian Shui. Tian Shui has become stronger. The people of the Cloud Dragon Valley are indeed crazy. Indeed, it's too terrifying. That Xuanixin, Lu Ming, and the Cloud Dragon Valley are all crazy. Their strength is too shocking. I've heard that none of the 9 disciples of the Cloud Dragon Valley Master are easy to deal with. The people of the Dragon Valley began to discuss among themselves. Chapter 1503. Tian Shui had completely gained the upper hand in the battle. Bang! Following a loud explosion, Ding Mao was sent flying by Tian Shui's hammer. He slid a few hundred meters on the ground, leaving a long ditch behind him. Ding Mao's arms trembled vigorously as a trail of blood ran down from his lips. Ding Mao was injured. He was no match for Tian Shui. A high-level martial emperor of the 7th layer of the martial emperor realm was no match for a peak martial emperor. Many people looked at Tian Shui in shock. Lu Ming, a 3rd layer martial dominator, could easily crush a 5th layer martial dominator. And now, Tian Shui, with a cultivation of the peak 5th layer martial dominator, was suppressing a 7th layer martial dominator. The disciples of the Cloudy Void Valley were utterly terrifying. Is this all you've got? So this is the strength of a 7th layer martial dominator? How ordinary. The people of the Silver Dragon Valley are arrogant and disrespectful, but they are all trash. Tian Shui swung his giant hammer, causing it to emit a disdainful sound. Ding Mao wore an unpleasant expression, but he could not refute it. The truth was that he was no match for Tian Shui. The faces of the disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley reddened, but no one dared to say a word. Lu Ming, I'll let you go this time. Let's go. Ding Mao glared at Lu Ming coldly. With a cold snort, he turned and walked toward the exit of the floating platform. The disciples of the Silver Dragon Valley, including Yincheng, were planning to leave too. Wait, Lu Ming snapped. Ding Mao halted and glanced at Lu Ming. What do you want? Do you really think I'm afraid of you? I'm not talking to you. I'm looking for him. Lu Ming glanced at Yincheng and said, You owe me 500,000 contribution points. Pay me the full amount before you leave. In your dreams, Yincheng yelled furiously. Previously, he had been forced to his knees by Lu Ming with a single blow. It was such a great humiliation that he could not wait to skin Lu Ming alive. Don't even think about it. You lost 500,000 contribution points to me in a bet, and you want to go back on your word? I've said it before. If you don't pay up today, don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming's voice was cold. I told you, I was just saying it casually. Yincheng said coldly. Ha ha ha, just saying? So what you Silver Dragon Valley people say is all bullshit. Fine, if you admit it, everyone in the Silver Dragon Valley is spouting nonsense, and I'll pretend it never happened. Lu Ming said. Yincheng was tongue-tied. How could he admit to this? This wasn't just about him. It was about the whole Silver Dragon Valley. The Valley Lord, the Elders, and some geniuses were in the Silver Dragon Valley. How could he represent the Silver Dragon Valley? If he really admitted it, he wouldn't be able to stay in the Silver Dragon Valley in the future. A bet? Are there any witnesses? Ding Mao said coldly. Everyone here is a witness. Lu Ming scanned the scene. Oh, is that so? Who's a witness? Ding Mao scanned the crowd and revealed a hint of threat. Since you're a witness, you'd better not lie. Tell the truth. Tian Shui said from the side. He scanned the crowd like a savage beast and said, If I find out who's lying, My hammer is too slippery and I can't hold it properly. Don't blame me if such a big hammer suddenly falls from above your head when you're outside." As he spoke, Tian Shui's hand slipped and the water tank-like hammer fell to the ground. Boom! The ground rumbled and a deep pit was formed. Cracks spread out like a spider web. Many people gasped. The ground was very hard, but it was terrifying that Tian Shui's hammer could make such a dent in the ground. The weight of the hammer was too shocking. If it landed on a person's body, the person's bones would definitely be broken. Those with a weak cultivation would be smashed to death. They had a bet. A timid voice was heard. It was the same timid young lady from before. This made Ding Mao's eyes turn cold. That's right. They bet on who could step onto the higher floating platform. The higher the platform, the winner. In the end, Lu Ming won. That's true. At this moment, the others started to speak. Firstly, they were afraid of Tian Shui. Secondly, the people from Silver Dragon Valley were too overbearing and they were unhappy. When the others at the scene spoke, Yinqing's face turned ghastly. If you're willing to bet, you must be willing to admit defeat. Hand over your contribution points. Otherwise, you can stand still and take a blow from my hammer. Tian Shui grinned. Yinqing trembled. What a joke. Taking a blow from Tian Shui? Wouldn't that be courting death? Since you've lost, hand over your contribution points. At this moment, Ding Mao spoke coldly. He had suffered some injuries in the battle with Tian Shui and needed to go back to heal. Moreover, it was Yinqing's contribution points, not his. He wanted to leave this place quickly so as not to embarrass himself. Yinqing was about to cry. However, since Ding Mao had spoken, he had to hand over his contribution points today even if he didn't want to. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to leave this place. In the end, Yinqing had no choice but to transfer 500,000 contribution points to Lu Ming's Identity Jade Token. Lu Ming's Identity Jade Token had an extra 500,000 contribution points. Yinqing's heart was bleeding. He only had 500,000 contribution points in total. Now, he was left with only a fraction. Let's go. Ding Mao snorted coldly and left with the rest of the Silver Dragon Valley. Thank you, 7th senior brother, for your help. Lu Ming cupped his fists at Tian Shui. Haha, we're brothers. Why are you being so polite? Tian Shui laughed. When I returned, I heard about junior brother's deeds. You killed Yinqing's precious grandson in front of him. How satisfying. You're a real man. I wanted to look for you for a drink, but you weren't around. Hence, I came to the floating platform to cultivate. I didn't expect to bump into you, haha. Tian Shui laughed heartily. Isn't it easy to drink? I just earned a lot of contribution points. I can drink at any time. Lu Ming laughed. Tian Shui's character was similar to Yin Guangtu's. Lu Ming had a good impression of him. All right, I'll be waiting, Tian Shui said. At this moment, Lu Ming walked towards the timid girl and said, Thank you for speaking out earlier. May I know your name? I'm Su Lei, the young girl said. Her voice was still timid and very Burmese. After chatting for a while, Lu Ming knew that Su Lei was a disciple of Purple Dragon Valley. Junior brother, they said that you won the bet against Yinqing. Which platform did you step on? Tian Shui asked curiously. I just passed the 6th platform and came down. Lu Ming said. Past the 6th platform? Can you continue? Tian Shui asked curiously. I should be able to. Lu Ming said. He had integrated the chaotic domain into the 13 strikes, which greatly increased his power. It was quite easy for him to pass the 6th platform. Lu Ming reckoned that he should be able to handle it if he stepped on the 7th platform. You can step on the 7th platform with a level 3 domain. That's sick. Chapter 1504. Lu Ming smiled bitterly as he rubbed his nose. Isn't the other party a freak to be able to suppress Ding Mao with his cultivation of level 5 Martial King Realm? Junior brother Lu Ming, why don't we have a competition to see who can step onto more floating platforms and kill more heavenly law mutated beasts? What do you think? Tian Shui's eyes were filled with intense battle intent. I've long heard that senior brother Tian Shui likes to battle and is bloodthirsty. It seems like it's true. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat as he nodded and said, Sure, then let's do it. Tian Shui was excited. Lu Ming nodded and went to the counter to pay another 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. Every time he stepped onto a floating platform, he would have to pay 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. It was indeed expensive, but the effect was also shocking. To Lu Ming, it was definitely worth it. Of course, it wasn't worth it for those with low domain level to come here because they would be blasted off after stepping onto one or two floating platforms. Their harvest might not even be worth 200,000 mid-grade origin stones. Those who came here to cultivate were usually above level 4, or those who had reached a bottleneck in their domain. After Lu Ming paid the origin stones, he and Tian Shui each chose a floating platform and stepped onto the first floating platform. Just like before, the two of them sat cross-legged and were enveloped by inscriptions. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry as he killed the heavenly law mutated beasts and comprehended the chaotic domain. Tian Shui did the same. Their speed was almost the same. They passed through the first floating platform at almost the same time and stepped onto the second floating platform, then the third floating platform. They went up one floating platform after another. After passing through the sixth floating platform, Lu Ming's chaotic domain had reached the limit of level 3 and was only a step away from level 4. Next, he could start to break through to level 4. The seventh floating platform, level 7 domain, how strong will it be? Standing on the sixth floating platform, Lu Ming muttered, "Haha, junior brother, I'll go first." At the side, Tian Shui laughed and took a step forward, stepping onto the seventh floating platform. Lu Ming smiled and stepped onto the seventh floating platform. He then sat down cross-legged and inscriptions covered Lu Ming. In the next moment, Lu Ming appeared on the Heavenly Law battlefield. Roar! A Heavenly Dao rare beast appeared. It had 7 golden marks on its forehead, and a powerful aura surged toward Qin Nan. Whoosh! In the next moment, the Heavenly Law beast arrived in front of Lu Ming. Boom! A spear appeared in Zhang Xian's hand, and with a sweep, it landed on the body of the mutated beast. Boom! The exotic beast was immediately sent flying, falling a few hundred meters away. However, it immediately shook its head and stood up again, completely fine. So strong? Lu Ming's heart trembled. A grade 7 Heaven's Path mutant beast was far stronger than a grade 6 one. Even if he were to use his full strength, he still wouldn't be able to kill it. Roar! Roar! At this time, more Heavenly Law beasts appeared and pounced on Lu Ming. Wong! His long spear vibrated as Lu Ming charged into the horde of strange beasts. Bang! 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 Zhang Xian's long spear swayed, forming numerous spear shadows that continuously struck the Heavenly Law beasts. The Heavenly Law beasts were sent flying like sandbags, but they were all fine. They shook their heads and stood up again, pouncing on Lu Ming. Whoosh! The long spear turned into a rainbow light, and with a burst of power, it pierced through a Heavenly Law beast. However, this Heavenly Law beast wasn't dead yet, and it continued to entangle Lu Ming. When the other Heavenly Law beasts attacked, Lu Ming could only retreat. However, he was still scratched by one of the mutated beasts, and he felt a tearing pain. The long spear that pierced through the Heavenly Law beast turned back into the primal chaos domain and dissipated. Then, it condensed in Lu Ming's hand. At the same time, 7 golden marks flew into Lu Ming's body. The mutated beast that was pierced through was finally dead. This won't do. I'll be injured if I kill one. It'll be very difficult for me to get to the 7th floating platform. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. If he used this method of exchanging injuries, he would be killed before he could kill all the mutated beasts. Once he was killed here, his consciousness would return to his body, and it would be equivalent to a failure. The 13 strikes of storing power isn't enough. It's only equivalent to the 2nd level. If it's equivalent to the 3rd or 4th level, I'll be able to burst out with the power of the 6th or 8th level. Then, passing this floating platform won't be a problem. Lu Ming thought. Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry to kill the mutated beasts. Instead, he used the mutated beasts to cultivate the 13 strikes of storing power, and slowly integrated the 13 strikes of storing power into the primal chaos domain. The mutated beasts were sent flying one by one, but they stood up again. The long spear was like a dragon, and the sky was filled with spear shadows. More than 100 mutated beasts attacked, but they couldn't break through Lu Ming's defense. After an unknown period of time, bang! A mutated beast was swept away by Lu Ming's spear, and half of its body exploded. It stood up and swayed a few times before falling down again. 7 golden marks flew into Lu Ming's body. The 3rd level, the power of the 6th level. Lu Ming was overjoyed. The 13 strikes of storing power broke through again, and its power increased greatly. Originally, he had cultivated the 13 strikes of storing power to the 5th level and could unleash the power of the 10th level. Now that he was simply integrating it into the primal chaos domain, the difficulty was much lower, and the speed was much faster. With a sweep of the spear, the power of the 6th level was stacked together, and the power suddenly increased by 6 times. Bang! One of the beasts was sent flying and exploded into pieces. Bang! Bang! Lu Ming's long spear was like a true dragon, constantly bombarding the mutated beasts. The mutated beasts were killed one by one, and densely packed golden marks flew towards Lu Ming and into Lu Ming's body. Not long after, when Lu Ming stabbed the last mutated beast with his spear, his consciousness returned to his body. Lu Ming opened his eyes and looked at Tian Shui. He realized that Tian Shui's body was emitting a golden light and was refining the golden marks. Tian Shui passed it earlier than Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled. This was normal. After all, Tian Shui's domain had already reached the 6th level. Moreover, Tian Shui's domain was no small matter, and its power was very strong. It was normal for him to pass it earlier than him. Lu Ming immediately began to refine the heaven path imprint that he had obtained earlier. Half a day later, Lu Ming completely refined the heaven path imprint. I still haven't broken through. It seems that it's not easy to break through the 4th level domain. Lu Ming shook his head. He looked at Tian Shui and saw that Tian Shui was looking at him. Junior brother is really amazing. You can actually pass the 7th floating platform with a 3rd level domain. I'm impressed. Tian Shui grinned. Senior brother is the amazing one. I still lost to senior brother. Lu Ming smiled. Ha ha ha, junior brother. Do you still want to pass the 8th floating platform? If you want to pass the 8th floating platform, then I, your senior brother, will directly admit defeat to you. Tian Shui laughed straightforwardly. No. Lu Ming shook his head. Chapter 1505. After all, his chaotic domain was only at the 3rd level. Even if his attack power was strong, his defense would be weak. He would probably be killed after 1 or 2 attacks. Lu Ming wasn't confident that he wouldn't be attacked by 108 mutated beasts. Unless his chaotic domain reached the 4th level, he wouldn't have the confidence to challenge the 8 floating platforms. Senior brother, I need some time to digest it. You can continue. Lu Ming clasped his fists and said, Haha, go. Tian Shui laughed. Lu Ming jumped down from the floating platform and flew towards the snow mountain. He had already challenged the heaven-span floating platform twice, absorbing and refining a large number of heavenly Tao imprints. These heavenly Tao imprints were refined in one go, and he needed time to properly digest them. When he stepped onto the heaven-span floating platform again, the effects would be much better. If he kept challenging the floating platform and absorbing the heavenly Tao imprints, not only would the effect not be good, there might even be problems. Hence, caves were opened on the snow mountain for the cultivators of the Dragon God Valley to digest and refine their heavenly Tao imprints. Lu Ming entered an empty cave, closed the door, and sat down cross-legged. His chaotic domain spread out as he quietly comprehended. A few days later, Lu Ming walked out of the cave and stepped on the floating platform again. Just like that, a month passed in the blink of an eye. After a month of hard work, his chaotic domain finally made a breakthrough and reached the 4th level. Its power increased greatly. This made Lu Ming sigh. The difficulty of breaking through his chaotic domain was indeed shocking. In a month, he had spent tens of millions of mid-grade origin stones, which were equivalent to 100,000 contribution points. Finally, his chaotic domain broke through. After the breakthrough, Lu Ming didn't leave and continued to cultivate on the floating platform. The chaotic domain had broken through to level 4 and its power had increased tremendously. Lu Ming had also integrated the 13 accumulated strikes perfectly into the chaotic domain. Every move could unleash an attack of tenfold. He had successfully cleared the 8th floating platform, and his cultivation speed had increased by a few notches. In the blink of an eye, another month passed. Lu Ming's chaotic domain gradually approached the peak of the 4th level. At this time, Lu Ming had no choice but to leave. That was because the floating platform was about to close. The floating platform required a large amount of energy to operate. Moreover, it had to be closed for maintenance every once in a while. Otherwise, the energy would be insufficient and the floating platform would have problems. It would be closed for 2 to 3 months. In fact, the floating platform would be closed for a few months after it was opened for 3 months. Junior brother, let's return to the Cloud Void Valley. Tian Chue walked to Lu Ming's side. For the past few months, Tian Chue had been cultivating on the floating platform. The aura on his body was getting stronger and stronger. The power of his domain was also getting more profound. Some time ago, he even broke through to level 7. Like Lu Ming, he had also cleared the 8th floating platform. Lu Ming smiled. The two of them flew towards the Cloud Dragon Valley together. They met Xuanixin as soon as they returned to Cloud Space Valley. Xuanixin gritted her teeth and stared at the two. No, junior sister. We were about to go for a drink. We came back to call you. Tian Chue quickly quibbled. Big Chue, don't call me junior sister. I'm not the youngest anymore. Lu Ming is the youngest. He's our junior brother. Xuanixin glanced at Tian Chue and said. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and changed the topic. Senior sister, you said you had something to ask us. What is it? I almost forgot. I want to ask you to go to Tsang Mountain. The treasure sorting assembly will begin in less than 2 months. Many of the younger generation are rushing to Tsang Mountain. Xuanixin said. It's starting so soon. I almost forgot. Tian Chue scratched his head and smiled. Treasure sorting assembly? Lu Ming was puzzled. Junior brother, you don't know yet. Let me tell you. Seeing the puzzled look on Lu Ming's face, Xuanixin's interest was piqued. She acted like a senior sister and explained to Lu Ming. As the name suggests, the treasure sorting assembly of the Tsang province is to decide which sect will keep the 2 ancient treasures. Every 3 years, the 13 top sects of the Tsang province will gather in the Tsang Mountain and send out their younger generation to compete in a series of competitions. In the end, the sect that wins first place will continue to keep the 2 ancient treasures. After 3 years, the treasure sorting assembly will be held again to decide who will keep the 2 ancient treasures. Xuanixin explained. Lu Ming was enlightened. So that was the case. It was held once every 3 years. Whoever was more powerful would be able to keep the 2 ancient treasures for another 3 years. I wonder what kind of treasure it is that the 13 top sects are so interested in it. Lu Ming asked. Xuanixin said, I heard that one of them is a fragment of the suppressing prison monument. A fragment of the suppressing prison monument? Lu Ming was shocked. Lu Ming had never thought that one of the treasures would be a fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Didn't the Heavenly Divinity sect have a fragment of the suppressing prison monument? Could it be that the sect that won last time was the Heavenly Divinity sect? Junior brother also knows about the fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Although the suppressing prison monument is a legendary treasure that is said to be able to suppress all evil, it's broken and can't exert much of its power. It's said that if all the fragments can be combined, there will be a great secret. There's another treasure that's the key. It's also the focus of all the sections. It's said that this treasure contains the secret to becoming a martial emperor. Xuanixin said, the secret to becoming a martial emperor. Lu Ming was even more shocked. That's right. It's a pity that these 2 treasures have been in the hands of the sects for so many years, but none of the sects have been able to obtain them. However, none of the sects would give up. They all want to keep the treasures in their hands and continue to study them. The Heavenly Divinity sect has won first place several times in a row. Xuanixin, the Heavenly Divinity sect indeed. Lu Ming nodded his head as his eyes flickered passionately. He was more interested in the fragment of the suppressing prison monument. Although he was curious about the other treasure that was related to the secret to becoming a martial emperor, he was not too interested in it. The sects had been studying it for so many years without any success. He did not think that he would be able to discover any secrets. Senior sister, are we going to the Tsang Mountain to take part in the trial? Lu Ming asked. Of course not. Xuanixin shook her head and said, the sects have already decided on the candidates for the trial. They are all powerful cultivators among the younger generation. Some have even reached the peak martial dominator realm, while the weakest among them has reached the 7th layer martial dominator realm. Those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm are not qualified to take part in the trial. Even if they do, it's useless. Chapter 1506. Although those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm are not allowed to participate, many people will be there to spectate. After all, it's a grand event held once every 3 years in the Tsang continent. Some of the top geniuses of the Tsang continent will be there. It's beneficial for one's cultivation to witness their battles. Besides, the top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent will be there too, Xuanixin said. Her eyes flickered with a hint of yearning. The top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent? Lu Ming mumbled. The top 10 young geniuses of the Tsang continent were the strongest among the younger generation of the Tsang continent. It was said that each of their cultivations had reached the peak martial dominator realm, granting them a shocking strength. Bai and I belonged to the younger generation. It was said that the top genius among the younger generation of the Dragon God Valley was one of the top 10 young geniuses. Let's go then. I'd like to witness it too. I missed it 3 years ago due to my cultivation. I can't afford to miss it this time, Tian Shui said. Sure, let's go. Lu Ming and Xuanixin nodded. The three flew out of the Cloud Dragon Valley. As they left the outer valley of the Dragon God Valley, Tian Shui waved his hand, summoning a sky-piercing shuttle. It was a long journey to the Tsang Mountain, thus it was most suitable to take the sky-piercing shuttle. The three entered the sky-piercing shuttle. The interior of the sky-piercing shuttle was spacious, with runes flashing on its surface. There was a crystal glass at the front that reflected the scenery outside. Let's go. Tian Shui uttered a roar and activated the sky-piercing shuttle. Whoosh! The sky-piercing shuttle sprang into the sky at a shocking speed. Through the crystal glass, one could see endless mountains and rivers flashing past. It's so comfortable to have a sky-piercing shuttle, Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. The sky-piercing shuttle could be activated with an origin stone. It was extremely convenient to cultivate and travel at the same time. Lu Ming had long wanted to buy one, but the price of a sky-piercing shuttle was too high. He could not afford even the lowest-grade sky-piercing shuttle. Little junior brother, it will take you half a month to get to Tsang Mountain, even if you take the sky-piercing flying shuttle. You can practice here, Tian Shui said. Lu Ming nodded. The three of them each chose a spot and sat down cross-legged. Time flew, and 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. Boom! Suddenly, the void-piercing flying shuttle shook violently, and it stopped. Someone was attacking the sky-piercing shuttle. Lu Ming and the other two were shocked. They hurriedly ended their cultivation and looked outside through the crystal glass. In front of them, there were more than 10 figures standing there, looking at them coldly. Among the dozen or so figures, there were old men and middle-aged men. They all wore black robes and had fierce looks on their faces. You dare to attack my breaking sky shuttle? You're courting death. Tian Shui angrily shouted, opened the door of the flying shuttle, and rushed out. Lu Ming and Xuanixin hurriedly followed him out. Who dares to attack my breaking sky shuttle? You're courting death. Tian Shui roared angrily as his ferocious gaze swept over the dozen people. So it's just a few brats and chicks. Haha, our luck is not bad. Now, hand over the piercing sky shuttle and scram. A burly man shouted. It turned out that they were here to rob the piercing sky shuttle. Trying to rob my breaking sky shuttle? Tian Shui stared at the burly man coldly. Nonsense, didn't you hear what I said? Piss off at once, and leave your storage rings behind. Otherwise, you'll all die here. The burly man snapped as a powerful aura was emitted from his body. 7th layer martial dominator realm. This burly man possessed a cultivation of the 7th layer martial dominator realm. No wonder he did not treat them seriously. The people behind the burly man were not weak either. They were all at least 4th layer martial dominator realm. Leader, why waste your time talking to them? Just kill them. That chick is not bad. Leave her for us to enjoy. Behind the burly man, a skinny middle-aged man's eyes flickered with murderous intent as he glanced at Xuanxin. Courting death, junior brothers and sisters, leave this guy to me. I'll leave the rest to you, Tianxue said. Saying this, a giant hammer appeared in his hand as he walked toward the burly man with a ferocious look. A 5th layer martial dominator realm cultivator dares to challenge me? Since you're courting death, I'll grant your wish. A giant saber appeared in the burly man's hand. He took a step forward and appeared above Tianxue before slashing at him. You're the one who's going to die. Tianxue snapped furiously as he swung his giant hammer at the burly man. Clang! The giant hammer and the saber collided, resulting in a loud explosion. The burly man's body shuddered violently as he was sent flying a few hundred meters in the air. How is this possible? The burly man yelled in disbelief. His opponent was only a 5th layer martial dominator realm cultivator, but he was able to send him flying with a single blow. He could even feel his arm trembling, causing him to almost vomit blood. 2 months ago at the sky-towering floating platform, Tianxue was already able to suppress Ding Mao. Even though they were both at the 7th layer martial dominator realm, Ding Mao was obviously stronger than the burly man. Furthermore, Tianxue's domain had now reached the 7th layer, thus his strength was even stronger. He could easily defeat the burly man. That's all you've got? I haven't even used half of my strength. Die. Tianxue charged at the burly man with his giant hammer. Let's go together. The burly man yelled. Kill. Instantly, the other cultivators unleashed their auras and charged at Tianxue. Die. Xuanxin took a step forward and appeared in front of a 6th layer martial dominator realm expert. She threw a punch forward, which shattered the expert's defense and blasted him into pieces. Meanwhile, Lu Ming dashed forward. Whoosh! Whoosh! A long spear appeared in Lu Ming's hand. With a shudder, 7 or 8 spear rays were fired, each with the strength of a 10th layer attack. Unstoppable! Unstoppable! The 8 cultivators, regardless of whether they were at the 4th layer, 5th layer, or 6th layer martial dominator realm, were all pierced through by Lu Ming's spear rays, killing them in the air. Devour. Next, Lu Ming clenched his left fist in the air, and a terrifying devouring power erupted, shrouding these corpses. The blood and vital essence of the other party were all devoured by Lu Ming. They turned into dried corpses and fell to the ground. Although Lu Ming's cultivation was still at the 3rd layer martial dominator realm, he had reached the 4th layer martial dominator realm. Coupled with the terrifying strength of the 13 stored strikes, it was easy for him to kill ordinary 6th layer martial dominators. Lu Ming activated his devouring power and continued to refine the energy in his body. His cultivation was rising rapidly. During this period, he had been cultivating the chaotic territory and was about to reach the peak of the 4th layer. Therefore, his cultivation was rising rapidly. While Lu Ming was refining the energy, Xuanxin had also finished her battle. The others were all killed by Xuanxin. What a powerful combat strength! Xuanxin's cultivation was also at the peak of the 5th layer martial dominator realm, but her combat strength was astonishing. She could kill ordinary 6th layer martial dominators as easily as cutting vegetables. Don't waste it. Lu Ming unleashed his devouring power and devoured all the blood essences of the people Xuanxin had killed. Chapter 1507. Boom. At this time, the battle between Tianxue and the burly man was nearing its end. Tianxue's attacks were wild, and the burly man had no strength to resist at all. He was bombarded by Tianxue until he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. In the end, he was smashed to the ground by Tianxue, creating a huge pit. Spare me! Spare me! The burly man looked around and screamed when he found that the people he brought were all killed. He knew that he had kicked an iron plate. These people were all monsters. You wanted to steal my shuttle and kill us, and now you want me to let you go? Ridiculous. Tianxue revealed a sinister smile. The burly man felt a chill in his heart and shouted, "There's a reason why I wanted to steal your shuttle. It's because we found a place where a great treasure has appeared, but we need a shuttle to enter. A great treasure has appeared? Tian Shui, Xuanxin, and Lu Ming were stunned. That's right. As long as you promise to let me go, I'll tell you the location of the great treasure. The burly man shouted. Oh, it's true. Don't lie to me. Tian Shui's eyes were sharp. I swear that I won't lie to you, but you have to promise not to kill me. The burly man said. Okay, I promise not to kill you. I swear. Tian Shui immediately swore that if the burly man told him the location, he would not kill him. Half a day's journey from here to NATO, there's a lake called Qilong Lake. Legend has it that a powerful true dragon used to live there. Some time ago, there was a deafening dragon roar coming from Qilong Lake. The burly man said, a powerful true dragon is residing here? The three of them were stunned and curious. One had to know that among the three of them, there was also a pure-blooded true dragon. What does the dragon roar of Qilong Lake have to do with the shuttle? Tian Shui asked. That's because there's a strong murderous aura around the periphery of Qilong Lake. Without a powerful defensive treasure, it's difficult to rush in. The shuttle has amazing defensive power and speed, so it's definitely able to rush in safely. The burly man said, Now, I've told you everything I know. Can you let me go? The burly man said. Bang! As soon as the burly man finished speaking, a fist bombarded his dantian, piercing through his dantian and shattering his spiritual spirit. It was Xuanxin. You're not trustworthy. The burly man roared, filled with indignation. I promised not to kill you, but my junior sister didn't promise not to kill you. Tian Shui smiled sinisterly. The burly man's life, calm. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not mind. In the martial arts world, the strong preyed on the weak. This was especially so in Yuan Lu. A soft-hearted person would not be able to go far. The devouring power erupted and devoured the energy of the burly man's blood essence. What a powerful secret! Tian Shui. He thought that Lu Ming was using a secret skill. Lu Ming smiled and did not explain. Tian Shui asked, That's what I was thinking. Lu Ming said, Of course. Xuanxin said, Great, haha, let's go. Tian Shui said with a smile. The three of them boarded the void-piercing flying shuttle and flew towards the north at top speed. Lu Ming sat with his legs crossed, refining the energy in his body. The energy of more than 10 4th-layer Martial Royal Realm experts, including a 7th-layer Martial Royal Realm expert, was constantly being converted into Lu Ming's true force. Lu Ming's true force continued to grow. Soon, after refining the energy, Lu Ming's cultivation had improved and reached the late-stage 3rd-layer Martial Royal Realm. They had arrived at their destination, the Dragon Lake. In front of them, the heavens and earth were filled with a thick black mist, which was the murderous aura. If a martial artist were to enter the mist, they would be corroded by the murderous aura, causing them to go crazy. In the worst case, their souls would be destroyed and they would die on the spot. Look, there are others. Through the crystal glass, they saw some figures standing outside the murderous aura, observing from afar. Some of them glanced in their direction with greedy eyes. Whoosh, whoosh. A few figures tore through the sky and flew toward them. One of them was even more imperious. He waved his hand, causing a giant palm to grab at the flying shuttle. It was obvious that he was trying to rob them of their flying shuttle, just like the others they had encountered before. Humph, I'm too lazy to play with you. Tian Shui harumphed as he activated the flying shuttle. With a whoosh, the flying shuttle dashed forward and destroyed the palm, before dashing into the murderous aura. The cultivators came to a stop unwillingly. The flying shuttle flew straight into the murderous aura. Look, there are other flying shuttles too. Xuanxin glanced outside and said. Lu Ming and the rest also saw it. Not far away from them, there was also a flying shuttle that tore through the air and flew forward. Roar. At that moment, a dragon's roar could be heard coming from the front. It was even transmitted through the shuttle. A dragon's cry. Such an imperious dragon's cry, but it doesn't sound like it's coming from a real dragon. Xuanxin said with a serious expression. It's not coming from a real dragon? Tian Shui and Lu Ming raised their eyebrows. They knew that some real dragons would also let out a dragon's cry after they died. For example, they could also let out a dragon's cry after awakening their true dragon bloodline and condensing the true dragon war body. Ordinary people would not be able to tell the difference, but Xuanxin was a real dragon, so it was not surprising that she could tell. Could it be a cave abode left behind by a real dragon after it died? The three of them guessed as they continued to control the flying shuttle. After a while, they finally flew out of the murderous aura. A huge lake appeared in front of them. At a glance, it was like a vast ocean, and there was no end to it. Moreover, there was no murderous aura here. So many people. Through the crystal glass, they looked outside and saw many figures above the lake. Some of them were flying above the lake, as if they were looking for something. It seemed that many people had received the news. Some of them were very young, and were very likely the prodigies of the top sections. The three of them got out of the flying shuttle. The flying shuttle shrank and was put away by Tian Shui. They looked around and saw more than 100 people. Some of them glanced at them and ignored them. There doesn't seem to be anything here, Tian Shui said. The three of them flew above the lake and looked at the calm lake. There seemed to be nothing there. Boom! Someone attacked the lake, causing thousands of waves. Splash! Suddenly, a huge pincer reached out from the waves and clamped down on that person. That person screamed in pain as his body was clamped in half. Blood splattered on the lake, dyeing the lake red. Chapter 1508. Whoosh! Suddenly, a silver ray flew out from the other side of the lake and penetrated a human cultivator, causing his blood to splatter everywhere. Everyone saw that it was a silver swordfish. It was as long as a silver divine sword. After killing a cultivator, the swordfish dove into the lake and disappeared. H. Meanwhile, a few cries of agony could be heard as a few beasts dashed out from the lake and killed a few more cultivators. Crap! Many people were startled. Previously, the lake had been calm, thus they thought there were no living creatures under the lake. They did not expect so many beasts to attack them all of a sudden. Whoosh! The surface of the lake churned. This time, countless demonic beasts rushed out from the lake and attacked the crowd. Some of them were not strong, but some were extremely terrifying. Kill these beasts! Someone uttered a roar and attacked the beasts in the water. A chaotic battle instantly broke out. The beasts in the water were being killed continuously. None of the human cultivators were weak. A few of them had been killed due to their carelessness. Now that they were fighting back, a large number of beasts in the water were slain. Human cultivators, get the hell out of here! A giant octopus flew into the sky and uttered a thunderous roar. 8 giant tentacles danced in the air and wrapped around a 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm Expert. The 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm Expert was killed by the impact. Following this, it swung its tentacles and killed 2 6th-layer Martial Dominator Realm Cultivators. Strong. This octopus was a 9th-layer Martial Dominator Realm Cultivator. Son of a bitch, I'll slay you. An old voice could be heard as an old man approached the octopus and attacked it. The two began to fight fiercely. Lu Ming, Tian Shui, and Xuanxin were attacked too. A group of lobsters charged toward them. These lobsters were covered in armor, which was impenetrable by swords and spears. The one leading the group was a 7th-layer Martial Dominator Realm Cultivator. Puff! Lu Ming's spear penetrated a 5th-layer Martial Dominator Realm Lobster. How tough! Lu Ming had a feeling that the defense of the 5th-layer Martial Emperor Realm Lobster was even stronger than that of many 6th-layer Martial Emperor Realm human cultivators. There are actually so many powerful demonic beasts in this lake. Not simple. Lu Ming pondered. Demonic beasts, as their cultivation level increased, would generally be divided into 2 types. The other was to take human form and form a force. They might even join a human sect to comprehend the great Tao of heaven and earth and cultivate the laws of heaven and earth. Their path of cultivation was very similar to that of humans, and they were known as demonic cultivators. As for the other type, they didn't take human form and instead remained in their beast form. They lived in the depths of the mountains and lakes and continued to cultivate according to their beastly nature. They developed their beastly body and retained their beastly nature. These types of beasts were generally known as savage beasts and savage beasts. Such savage beasts would be even more ferocious, and their battle prowess would be astounding. Obviously, the demonic beasts in the lake belonged to the category of ferocious beasts. The battle between the two sides was fierce. However, the human tribe had more experts. There were even some LV8 and LV9 Martial Royal Realm experts. They were all experts from the small forces near the Shilong Lake. Gradually, the human tribe gained the upper hand. The demonic beasts were killed one after another, and the surface of the lake was dyed red with blood. Hiss hiss. Suddenly, the surface of the lake became turbulent as a giant black shadow sprang out from the water and swallowed an LV8 Martial Royal Realm expert. It was a pitch-black giant snake over 1,000 meters long. Its aura was extremely ferocious and terrifying. Swallowing an LV8 Martial Royal Realm expert in one bite was too shocking. Crap, a peak Martial Royal Realm half-saint firmament water snake. Someone yelled in terror. Lu Ming and the others were astounded too. A peak Martial Royal Realm expert was also known as a half-saint. They were only one step away from entering the sacred realm and were extremely powerful. There was such a terrifying giant snake here. However, there was an even more shocking scene. Another firmament water snake appeared on the other side of the lake. Its aura was not weaker than the previous one. With a swing of its tail, it sent a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert flying, causing him to vomit blood. 2 firmament water snakes. There were 2 such terrifying firmament water snakes in the Shilong Lake. Outsiders, get out of here. Otherwise, I'll kill you all. One of the firmament water snakes roared and soared into the sky like a real dragon. Its huge body rolled up and charged toward a LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert. The LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert was shocked. LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert was basically at the peak of the Martial Royal Realm. However, compared to a half-saint, he was still far from it. Bang! The LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert was sent flying. He vomited blood, and his face turned pale. If you don't leave, I'll kill you all. The other firmament water snake said coldly. How arrogant. Let's see who you can kill. At this moment, a cold voice came from the sky. Then, a milky white holy light fell from the sky and blasted toward one of the firmament water snakes. Hiss hiss. The firmament water snake opened its mouth and spat out a black stream of water toward the milky white holy light. However, the stream of water was penetrated by the holy light as soon as it came into contact with the holy light. The holy light fell on the firmament water snake. The firmament water snake screamed as its scales fell off and blood flowed out. So powerful. The crowd was shocked. The firmament water snake, which had reached the half-saint realm, was injured by a saint realm expert? Buzz. A strong pressure came down from the sky. The crowd looked up and saw a young man in a white robe. Even his shoes were white. He walked in the air step by step, emitting a milky white holy light. He looked like a deity, the divine son of the divine sect. Xuanixin exclaimed when she saw him. Her pupils shrank. What? He is the divine son. Tian Chue also exclaimed. Then, a strong desire to fight appeared in his eyes. The divine son of the divine sect had a holy virgin and a holy son. However, there was only one person called the divine son. He was one of the top 10 geniuses of the Zhangzhou continent and the top genius of the divine sect. The divine son walked in the air. His powerful aura locked on to the firmament water snake. He looked up and said, Wang Jian, since you're here, why don't you attack? Ha ha ha, I wanted to watch the show. Since you're here, leave the other firmament water snake to me. A sword light flashed in the air. A young man with a long sword on his back appeared in the air. Wang Jian, the peerless genius of the 9 Heaven Sword sect and one of the top 10 geniuses of the Zhangzhou continent. Someone exclaimed. 2 of the top 10 geniuses of the Zhangzhou continent had come. Go away. Who are you? Go away. A firmament water snake roared and charged at Wang Jian. Divine son, let's see who can kill the firmament water snake faster. What do you think? Wang Jian said with a smile. He pointed his finger like a sword and slashed out. A shocking sword light slashed at the firmament water snake. A deep sword mark was left on the dark underworld water snake's body. That's exactly what I want. Wang Jian, I haven't seen you in 3 years. Let's see if you've improved. Chapter 1509. The two firmament water snakes were divided between the deity and Wang Jian, one for each of them. The two sides engaged in a fierce battle. The sword light was shocking, and the holy light filled the air. The two Tsaming water snakes were no match for them. So powerful. Is this the combat strength of the top 10 monsters of the Zhangzhou state? Lu Ming said in a low voice. The deity and Wang Jian had not reached the saint realm, but their combat strength was shocking. The two half-saint Tsaming water snakes were no match for them. Kill. After a few moves, Wang Jian yelled. The long sword on his back was unsheathed, and a terrifying sword light cut through the void. Poochie. Blood splattered everywhere. The Tsaming water snake's head was directly cut off by the sword light. Its huge body fell to the surface of the lake, and there was no sign of life. On the other side, the holy light on the deity's body condensed into a divine blade and directly cut the Tsaming water snake in half. The two of them killed two Tsaming water snakes at the same time. Many people gasped when they saw this. They were too powerful. The half-saint Tsaming water snakes were no match for them at all. They were killed in just a few moves. Can one kill a saint without reaching the saint realm? Someone whispered. Impossible. The saint realm is too strong. It is a legend to kill a saint without reaching the saint realm. Although the top 10 monsters are strong, they are no match for a saint realm expert. Someone analyzed in a low voice. Deity, it seems that it is a draw. Wang Jian looked at the deity, and his eyes were full of fighting spirit. These two Tsaming water snakes are too weak. There is no point in competing. The deity said casually. Deity, I will defeat you in this treasure sorting convention. In Wang Jian's eyes, light burst forth, like two divine swords. 3 years ago, you were no match for me. Now, you are even less of a match for me. The deity said faintly with his hands behind his back. He was full of confidence. Humph, we will know who is the winner. Now, let's take care of these demonic beasts. Wang Jian snorted coldly. His combat sword cut through the void, and beams of sword light fell down, killing the demonic beasts one by one. The divine child smiled indifferently and stepped out into the air. Holy light burst forth, killing the demonic beasts one after another. With the king's sword and the god's son taking action, it was a complete suppression. A large number of demonic beasts were harvested, and there was no room for others to intervene. The top 10 monstrous geniuses are the main force in every treasure ranking meeting. I want to see them once 3 years ago. Their battle prowess was extremely shocking. Now that another 3 years have passed, the battle prowess of the top 10 monstrous geniuses must be even more terrifying. Xuanixin said in a low voice. Lu Ming nodded his head. No wonder they were not allowed to participate in the treasure pedestal. Those below the 7th layer martial dominator realm were not qualified to participate in the trial. Lu Ming and his crew were too weak facing such a genius. They did not even have the chance to fight against him, as they would be defeated instantly. However, Lu Ming wasn't discouraged. These people were in Yuan continent and the cultivation environment was too good. In addition to their shocking talents, their cultivation was naturally high. However, Lu Ming was confident that in a few years, he would definitely be able to catch up with these people, compete with them, and even surpass them. Can I participate in the next 3 years? Lu Ming was looking forward to it. There were 2 treasures in the treasure ranking meeting, and one of them was the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument. If he could help Dragon God Valley win first place and get the right to research the 2 treasures for 3 years, would he be able to get the fragment of the prison-suppressing monument? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. Blood splattered everywhere as a large number of demonic beasts were killed. Soon, almost all the demonic beasts in the Shilong Lake were slaughtered. Some of the weaker ones were so scared that they hid in the lake. The surface of the lake quieted down. Roar! At that moment, an earth-shattering dragon roar came from under the lake. However, after the dragon roar, the surface of the lake remained calm, and nothing else happened. There must be something unusual at the bottom of the lake. Otherwise, how could there be two sage-level firmament water snakes in such a small lake? Wang Jin's eyes were like two divine swords as he stared at the surface of the lake, as if they were going to pierce through it. Let's just break it open and we'll know. The deity was extremely domineering. His body was bathed in holy light, as if he was the son of a god. He took a step forward, and the world shook. Then, he stretched out a hand and clenched his fist downward. A powerful suction force burst out. The lake water below formed a funnel and was sucked up. Then, the deity pressed his palm down. Boom! The lake water rushed downward again. The surface of the lake shook, and the center of the lake water that was pressed down was immediately pushed away. The lake water surged in all directions, and an area without water appeared there. Slash! The deity whispered. A ray of holy light flew out and slashed at the bottom of the lake like a heavenly blade. Rumble! The bottom of the lake was directly split open, and a huge crack appeared. However, the bottom of the lake was empty. There was nothing at all. The deity frowned. Whoosh! Below, the lake water surged, stirring up stormy waves. Roar! At that moment, another dragon roar was heard. There! Wang Jin looked around and took a step forward. He appeared dozens of miles away, and a shocking sword light bloomed from his hand and slashed at the lake. Whoosh! A sword mark that was 100 miles long appeared on the surface of the lake. The lake water was split open, and a deep crack appeared at the bottom of the lake. Roar! A shocking dragon roar came from the crack. Following that, the shadow of a dragon rushed out of the crack. It was not a real dragon, but a shadow. After rushing into the sky, it automatically dissipated. Rumble! Following that, a violent rumble came from the bottom of the lake, and strands of golden light spread out. There's something at the bottom of the lake. Many people's eyes lit up. The lake water boiled and rolled continuously. The bottom of the lake shook as if something huge was trying to break free from the bottom of the lake. In that area, the ground cracked open, and endless lake water poured in. Rumbling sounds rang out continuously, and following that, a huge object appeared. It was a huge palace that shone with golden light. The walls and pillars were carved with lifelike dragons. Dragon Palace! It's a dragon palace! Someone exclaimed. Legend has it that a powerful dragon lived in the Shilong Lake in ancient times. It's true. This dragon palace is so majestic. The true dragon that lives here must be a Saint Realm true dragon. Many people's eyes lit up. There was a legend in the distant past. Many years had passed since then, and even if there was a Saint Realm dragon, it would have fallen. Then, after the dragon fell, would it be in the dragon palace? How many treasures would there be in the dragon palace? No wonder there were so many powerful underwater monsters in the lake. There was a dragon palace under the lake. The ground collapsed, and the lake water swept away. Soon, the entire dragon palace appeared in front of everyone. In front of the dragon palace was a wide passage that led to the gate of the dragon palace. The gate was tightly shut. Chapter 15:10. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure dashed toward the entrance of the dragon palace. However, when he reached the passage in front of the entrance, the dragon statues on both sides of the passage let out dragon cries and emitted brilliant light. Then, the illusionary figures of the dragons charged toward the figure. The figure was a middle-aged man with a cultivation of the fourth-layer martial royal realm. He was shocked and tried his best to defend himself. However, in the next moment, his defense was torn apart by the illusionary figures of the dragons and his body was torn into pieces. A fourth-layer martial royal realm cultivator was killed in an instant. Some people gasped. It seemed that the dragon palace was not that easy to enter. The illusionary figures of the dragons are so powerful. They seem to be at the seventh-layer martial royal realm. That's right. It seems that those below the seventh-layer martial royal realm can't enter at all. Some people discussed. Let me have a try. An old man stepped forward and dashed toward the entrance of the dragon palace. Similarly, when he reached the passage, the illusionary figures of the dragons pounced on him. The old man unleashed his strength and continuously threw out palm strikes to collide with the illusionary figures of the dragons. The illusionary figures of the dragons were knocked away. The old man continued to move forward and soon arrived at the entrance of the Dragon Palace. Seeing this, more people flew toward the entrance of the Dragon Palace. However, most of them were above the 7th layer martial royal realm. They charged toward the entrance with all their might. The Divine Sun and Wang Jian also made their moves. The illusionary figures of the dragons did not obstruct them at all. Break the entrance. The Divine Sun stepped forward and threw a punch at the entrance of the Dragon Palace. Boom! The entrance of the Dragon Palace trembled violently as if it were about to be shattered. Guys, what are you waiting for? The Divine Sun said. All right, let's do it together. The others also made their moves. There were about 20 of them in total, and all sorts of rainbow-colored lights slammed into the door. The door rumbled, and in the end, it was unable to withstand the pressure and exploded. Let's go. Whoosh whoosh. As soon as the entrance of the Dragon Palace was opened, the 20 people rushed into the Dragon Palace and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Senior brother, senior sister, do you want to try? Lu Ming looked at Tian Shui and Xuening Xin. Since we're here, let's try. Tian Shui said. Xuening Xin nodded. All right, let's go together, Lu Ming said. Immediately, the three of them flew toward the gate of Dragon Palace. Many people looked at them in surprise. How bold of them, 2 5th-layer martial dominators and 1 3rd-layer martial dominator dare to challenge the Dragon Palace. How bold. Young man, newborn calves are not afraid of tigers, someone said disdainfully. Lu Ming and the other two pretended not to hear anything. Just as they were about to reach the door, numerous illusory true dragons pounced on them. Scram! Tian Shui roared, and the huge hammer smashed forward. Bang! A true dragon phantom was sent flying. Xuening Xin punched out and knocked away a true dragon shadow. Lu Ming held the long spear in his hand and swept it across, hitting one of them. Instantly, 10 types of power erupted from the long spear, sending the illusory figure of the real dragon flying. What? The true dragon's phantom was sent flying. Even that 3rd-layer martial dominator was able to knock the illusionary dragon away. How is this possible? Those below the 7th-layer martial dominator realm exclaimed in disbelief. Roar! 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 There were sounds of dragon roars and more illusory shadows of true dragons pounced on Lu Ming and the other two. The three of them stood in a triangle, each in charge of one side, and continued to attack. Bang! 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 One after another, the true dragon phantoms were sent flying by them. Their formation was like a sharp knife as they charged towards the door. Soon, they broke through the obstruction of the true dragon phantoms and successfully reached the door. The illusionary true dragons must have weakened. Yes, after being attacked by so many people, the illusionary true dragons must have weakened. Otherwise, a 3rd-layer martial dominator realm cultivator would not have been able to break through. This is our chance. Whoosh! Whoosh! Immediately, a few people charged toward the gate of the Dragon Palace. Dragon cries could be heard as the illusionary true dragons pounced on them. Piss off! An old man with a cultivation of the 6th-layer martial dominator realm threw out a punch in an attempt to knock the illusionary true dragons away. However, when his fist collided with the illusionary true dragons, his face turned pale as his bones were broken. He spat out mouthfuls of blood as his body was sent flying. Behind him, an illusionary true dragon flew past and tore him in half. At the same time, a few cries of agony could be heard as the others were killed on the spot by the illusionary true dragons. The remaining people were astounded. Some of the people who were about to charge forward halted in their tracks as their bodies were covered in cold sweat. They were secretly relieved that they had reacted too slowly. The power of the illusionary true dragons did not weaken at all. Its strength was exactly the same as before. Those three young men were able to break through. Many people glanced at Lu Ming and the others in astonishment. They understood that the three of them were monstrous geniuses, and their battle prowess could not be judged by common sense. Meanwhile, Lu Ming and the others had charged through the gate of the Dragon Palace. Inside the gate was a spacious hall, with 2 entrances on both sides at the back. Which one? Tian Shui asked. Either one is fine. Let's go to the right, Lu Ming said. Tian Shui and Xuanning Xin nodded. The 3 of them rushed through the door on the right and found that it was a passageway. After walking through the passageway, they found several long corridors with rooms on each side. When the 3 of them entered the rooms, they discovered that the rooms were completely empty. There was nothing inside. We're late. Everything has been taken away, Tian Shui said, because they could see that there were traces on the ground. There should have been things placed there before, but they were all taken away now. They should have been taken away by those who came in before them. Even the tables, chairs, flower trays, and the like have been taken away. Lu Ming was a little speechless. Legend has it that the true dragons love to collect all kinds of treasures and precious materials. Some of the ordinary furniture is made of precious materials. Tian Shui muttered and glanced at Xuanning Xin. What? You don't like it? Xuanning Xin glared at Tian Shui. Tian Shui smiled foolishly. The 3 of them continued to move forward. When they passed by a room, they saw an old man inside wantonly collecting things. The tables, chairs, candlesticks, flower trays, and the like were all taken away. Nestle, that flower pot is made of jade essence stone. Jade essence stone can be used to refine Emperor's spiritual weapons. Also, that table is made of dragon tooth jade. That's a material for refining saint weapons. Tian Shui's eyes widened as he exclaimed. The old man moved very quickly. With a wave of his hand, the entire room was emptied. Sure enough, the true dragons love to collect treasures. Those ordinary tools were all precious refining materials. It would be strange if they were not emptied. The old man glanced at them and was a little surprised, but he ignored the 3 of them and rushed to the other side in a flash. Let's hurry up too, or we won't even have soup to drink. Chapter 15:11. Lu Ming and the other 2 went around a corridor and came to a room. They finally realized that the room hadn't been plundered. The tables and chairs inside were all rare materials for refining weapons. The 3 of them put them away. Then, they continued to move forward. However, this time, they found that all the rooms had been plundered. The room they were in just now was a fish that had escaped the net. The 3 of them went past a few rooms and came to a side hall. The 3 of them stopped there. In front of them, a young man in a white shirt stood with his hands behind his back. He was looking at a painting on the wall of the hall. There were a few true dragons in the painting. They were so lifelike that they looked as if they were going to jump out of the painting. Divine Son. Lu Ming and the other 2 were stunned. This young man was the Divine Son of the Heavenly God sect. Hearing the noise, the Divine Son turned around and looked at Lu Ming and the other 2 coldly. Disciples of the Dragon God Valley. No wonder you can come here. Get lost. The Divine Son said coldly. The last word, get lost, was like the roar of a god. Sacred light burst out, and a terrifying wind swept towards Lu Ming and the other 2. The 3 of them were shocked. They released their Zhen Yuan and domain to defend themselves. However, the wind was too violent. It kept bombarding their bodies. The 3 of them felt as if they had been struck by lightning. They were forced to retreat. They felt their blood and qi surging. They almost coughed up blood. The Divine Son cast a cold glance at the 3 of them once again. With a wave of his hand, he put away the picture scroll. He seemed to be disdainful of dealing with the 3 of them. With a sway of his body, he left through a passageway. He's just scolding them. They just have a higher cultivation. Why do they act so high and mighty? Tian Shui scolded unhappily. Lu Ming didn't say anything. The martial world was like that. If you were strong, you could do whatever you wanted. If you weren't strong enough, there was no point in talking. The 3 of them chose another direction and moved forward. Soon, they passed by a hall. There were fist-sized pearl of the night inlaid on the wall. Xuanning Xin's eyes lit up. She plucked out the pearl of the night pearl one by one and put them away excitedly. Lu Ming and Tian Shui looked at each other. This luminous pearl was a treasure to ordinary people, but to martial artists, it was no different from a piece of trash. It was completely useless. It's said that true dragons like to collect treasures, especially shiny things. It's true. Tian Chue muttered. Oomph, what do you know? Xuaningxing glanced at Tian Chue with disdain. Boom, boom. At this moment, their expressions changed. That was because there was an intense rumbling sound coming from ahead of them. Someone is fighting, or... Tian Chue raised his eyebrows. Let's go take a look. Be careful, Lu Ming said. The three of them retracted their auras and headed toward the source of the voice. Soon, the three of them walked out of a large door and arrived at a huge hall. The hall was extremely spacious and could probably hold hundreds of thousands of people. In the middle of the hall was an enormous metal coffin. The giant coffin was engraved with the image of a true dragon. Layers of inscriptions filled the coffin. Dragon coffin. The three of them were shocked. It was obviously a dragon coffin. At this moment, a few experts were attacking the dragon coffin. However, the inscriptions on the dragon light formed a light screen that blocked the dragon coffin. Boom, boom, boom. Those experts were all above the 7th layer of the Martial Emperor realm. There was even a cultivator of the 9th layer of the Martial Emperor realm. Dazzling lights shot out from his hands and bombarded the light screen of the dragon coffin. The light screen shook, but it couldn't be broken in a short time. When Lu Ming and the other two arrived, the experts turned around and glanced at them. When they saw that the strongest among the three of them was only a LV5 Martial Royal Realm expert, a hint of disdain flashed in their eyes and they were ignored. A dragon coffin? At this moment, a LV8 Martial Royal Realm expert arrived and joined the others to attack the dragon coffin. The loud rumbling attracted the experts over. Gradually, more and more experts gathered. Clang! A young man stepped out from one direction with a towering sword chi. It was Wang Jian, the genius of the 9 Heaven Sword sect. Bang! In another direction, the divine sun stepped out from the sacred light. The two top geniuses of the Tsang continent had arrived at the same time. A dragon coffin? The divine sun's eyes shone brightly. Get lost, a bunch of trash. The divine sun shouted coldly. He stepped out and appeared in front of the dragon coffin. Sacred light burst out from his body, and two experts were sent flying by the divine sun's sacred light. Damn it! The two experts roared in their hearts, but they did not dare to say anything. Boom! The divine sun's palm hit the light screen of the giant coffin. The light screen shook violently as if it would collapse at any time, but it held on in the end. Haha, divine sun. It seems like you can't do it. Let me help you. Wang Jian sneered. Sword chi burst out, and a terrifying sword chi slashed at the light screen. The light screen shook violently, but it was not broken. Let's attack together. The divine sun glanced at the others coldly and said coldly, bang. Then, the divine sun stepped out. The dazzling sacred light turned into a divine saber and slashed at the light screen of the dragon coffin. At the same time, Wang Jian slashed out with his sword. The others gritted their teeth and attacked as well. With so many people attacking together, the power was terrifying. They bombarded the light screen together, causing it to shake violently. Crack! The light screen made a cracking sound and a crack appeared. The light screen cracked open. The crowd was excited and continued to attack. Finally, with a bang, the light screen exploded. The inscriptions on the huge dragon coffin dimmed and finally disappeared. At this time, everyone's eyes fell on the dragon coffin. What was in the dragon coffin? Was there really a true dragon buried there? Open! The divine sun was bathed in sacred light. A huge palm condensed in the air and slammed heavily on the dragon coffin. Rumble! The lid of the dragon coffin was opened. Whoosh! 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 At this time, the crowd rose into the air and looked into the dragon coffin. Dragon! A true dragon! There really was a true dragon lying in the dragon coffin. The true dragon was pitch black. Its black scales revealed a sparkling luster. There were 2 dragon horns on its head and 5 dragon claws on its abdomen. It was a black dragon. The dragon's body exuded a mysterious aura. Sage state. This true dragon had definitely reached the sage state when it was alive. A sage state true dragon was full of treasures. Back then, Lu Ming had spent 2 million contribution points to redeem 15 pounds of Sage State True Dragon Bones with complete spirituality. One could see how precious they were. Even if this true dragon's corpse had lost some of its spirituality, it was still priceless. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, someone moved and pounced at the true dragon's corpse. You're courting death. How dare you touch my true dragon? Kill. The divine sun shouted coldly. Sacred light burst out and turned into a divine saber that slashed out. Chapter 1512. Deity, aren't you being too overbearing? We opened the dragon coffin together. Everyone who saw it has a share. Don't tell me you want to monopolize it? A LV9 Martial Royal Realm Elder shouted angrily. Get lost. If you don't, die. The Divine Sun said coldly, unusually overbearing. Ha, Divine Sun. It's not that easy for you to monopolize this true dragon. Wang Jian sneered. The Divine Sun glanced at him coldly, but he did not say anything. Strength spoke louder than words. He could not ignore Wang Jian's strength. The others looked pale. It was difficult for them to fight against Wang Jian and the Divine Sun. Everyone, the Sacred Realm Dragon Corpse is extremely rare. Since we have seen it, how can we not get a share? How about we join forces? The LV9 Martial Royal Realm Elder said. Okay, I agree. I agree too. The others said one after another. The figures of more than 10 experts flashed and gathered together, standing on equal footing with the Divine Sun and Wang Jian. You are just a mob. Don't overestimate yourselves. The Divine Sun said coldly and stepped toward the true dragon corpse. He wanted to keep the Divine Dragon Corpse. As long as he kept the true dragon corpse, no one could compete with him. Clang. Wang Jian also moved. How could he let the Divine Sun monopolize it? Attack. The other experts moved as well. There were 13 of them in total. 3 of them were LV9 Martial Royal Realm experts. The rest were LV7 and LV8 Martial Royal Realm experts. Even a Sage-to-be expert could not ignore them when they gathered together. The 3 parties pounced toward the true dragon at the same time. Lu Ming and the other 2 stood at the side of the hall and watched coldly. With their strength, they could not interfere at all. The Divine Sun and the others ignored them. Get lost. Get lost. The Divine Sun shouted. Sacred light condensed into a divine saber and slashed out a dozen times at Wang Jian and the other experts. Clang. Sword radiance burst out and clashed with the divine saber. The space was filled with the sound of sword chi and saber radiance. The other experts also tried their best to resist the saber radiance. Taking advantage of this opportunity, the deity grabbed the true dragon's corpse with his hand, intending to put it into his storage ring. Don't even think about it. At the same time, Wang Jian also grabbed out a big hand and collided with the godchild's big hand. It's ours. The dozen or so people strode forward and grabbed at the dragon corpse. Roar. At this moment, an earth-shattering dragon roar erupted from the dragon pavilion, forming a terrifying sound wave that swept out in all directions. The Divine Sun and Wang Jian's expressions changed slightly. They each unleashed a blade light and a sword chi to break through the sound wave. Apart from the 2 9th-layer martial dominators who managed to resist the sound wave, the rest were knocked backward. Some of them even vomited blood. Lu Ming and the other 2 also did their best to resist. However, they were relatively far away, so the power of the sound wave was greatly reduced, and they were able to block it with relative ease. What happened? Everyone at the scene was greatly shocked. A dragon's roar came from the dragon coffin. Could it be that this true dragon was still alive? Roar. Then, another dragon roar sounded, and it also came from the dragon coffin. Bang, bang. Next, a series of banging sounds could be heard from within the dragon coffin. The black dragon actually stood up and roared. It looked around, its huge eyes shining with a ferocious light. How can this be? The Saint True Dragon is still alive? No, the Saint True Dragon is dead. This is just the immortal mark of the Saint True Dragon. Many people spoke out. The last voice shocked everyone. They sensed carefully and found that there was no sign of life in this true dragon. It had indeed been dead for many years. The reason why the true dragon could move was because of the immortal mark. It's already dead. What's the use of resisting? Today, it's destined to be mine. The divine sun said coldly. The sacred light on his body became even brighter. He grasped the void with one hand, and a long spear appeared in his hand. Many people were shocked. This was the divine retribution spear. The divine retribution spear. Kill. The divine sun shouted. The divine retribution spear pierced through the void and stabbed toward the true dragon's corpse. As long as the divine retribution spear destroyed the immortal mark of the Saint True Dragon, the Saint True Dragon would be completely dead. Roar. The black true dragon roared and clawed out. Boom. The dragon claw collided with the divine sun's divine retribution spear, causing a violent roar. The black true dragon's body trembled, and the divine sun took 2 steps back. After all, the Saint True Dragon had been dead for many years. The immortal mark left behind could not possibly have the combat strength it had when it was alive. On the other side, sword light flashed, and Wang Jin appeared. The black true dragon swung its tail and blocked Wang Jin's sword light. Then, the dragon's horns glowed. 2 beams of black light burst out and slashed toward the divine sun and Wang Jin. The divine sun's divine retribution spear struck again and destroyed the black light. On the other side, Wang Jin also destroyed the true dragon's black light. You've been dead for many years, and you still want to resist. Today, I'll make you disappear completely, the divine sun said. His glabella glowed, and a small pagoda flew out. It was a small white jade pagoda. As soon as it flew out, it rapidly expanded and emitted a milky white sacred light. Its aura was shocking. A sacred weapon, someone whispered. Boom. The divine sun used a sacred weapon. With his cultivation, controlling a sacred weapon was shockingly powerful. The white jade pagoda pressed down on the black true dragon. Roar. The black true dragon roared, and its dragon claws slammed into the white jade pagoda, causing a violent roar. Boom. The white jade pagoda shook, but the true dragon's corpse was also shaken and retreated. Then, the white jade pagoda slammed down again. Although the true dragon roared again and again, it was still suppressed. Roar. The black true dragon roared and abandoned the divine sun. Its body twisted, and it rushed toward the top of the hall. It wanted to escape. Today, you can't escape. The divine sun waved his hand, and an inscription talisman scroll appeared. The inscription talisman scroll opened, and dense inscriptions shone. Buzz. A large array appeared and suppressed the void. What a wonderful inscription talisman scroll. It can actually seal the void. Next to the hall, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. The inscription talisman scroll of the divine sun was very wonderful. It could seal the void and imprison it. In this way, the black true dragon would not be able to escape. Divine sun, you're really generous. You're even willing to take out an ancient inscription talisman scroll like the god's forbidden void. Wang Jin said. Humph. The divine sun snorted. He took a step forward and appeared above the black true dragon. The white jade pagoda pressed down again and completely obliterated the black true dragon's mark. Bubbles. At this time, no one noticed that Lu Ming had sent a voice transmission to Bubbles, who was on his shoulder. Then, Bubbles opened its mouth and waved its little claws forward. Crack, crack. Chapter 15:13. The inscription talisman of the god's forbidden void had failed. Since the void imprisonment failed, the inscription talisman burned and turned into ashes. Inscription talismans were usually one-time use items. Roar. After the void imprisonment failed, the black real dragon let out a long roar. Its dragon power was vast and mighty, and its entire body emitted a black light. Boom. The black real dragon struck out with its dragon claws and heavily bombarded the white jade pagoda, causing it to fly out. Then, the black real dragon let out a long roar and soared into the sky. It smashed a hole in the ceiling of the hall and flew out. Whoosh! Gravel flew everywhere, and a huge hole appeared above the dragon palace. The black real dragon wanted to break through the sky and fly out. Who is it? The deity roared and looked around, emitting an extremely cold, murderous intent. Just now, someone had secretly broken his god's forbidden void, allowing the black real dragon to escape. A great opportunity had been destroyed, and he had lost an ancient god's forbidden void inscription talisman. This made the deity's murderous intent extremely intense. No one made a sound. Swoosh! A sword light flashed, and the king's sword soared into the sky and chased after the black real dragon. The deity roared and also soared into the sky, chasing after the black real dragon. Let's go and take a look. That's right. We should at least get a share. The other experts soared into the sky and rushed toward the hole in the ceiling. Above them, light scattered. The black real dragon had directly pierced through the roof of the dragon palace and rushed out of the dragon palace. Is that a real dragon? No, a real dragon's corpse? Let's go and take a look. Lu Ming and the rest could still hear the voices coming from outside. Obviously, those who couldn't enter the dragon palace exclaimed when they saw the black real dragon fly out. Roar! Boom! Then, a dragon's roar resounded. Obviously, the black real dragon had been caught and a huge battle broke out between it and the deity and the rest. Chirp chirp! Bubbles chirped on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming smiled. Just now, it was Lu Ming who had let Bubbles destroy the deity's forbidden void. Bubbles was a space-time spirit mouse and could control time and space. It could secretly destroy space without anyone noticing. What should we do? Are you going out to watch the show? Tian Shui spoke, feeling a little depressed. In this trip to the Dragon Palace, they didn't get anything except some refining materials. As for the true dragon corpse, they could only look at it and not fight for it. How could they not feel depressed? True dragons usually like to build a hidden treasury. I reckon that it hasn't been discovered yet. Xuanixin said. Treasure vault? Tian Shui's eyes lit up. Xuanixin was a real dragon. She knew the habits of real dragons very well. Xuanixin nodded and said, That's right. Besides, the treasury is very well hidden. It's probably not far away from the true dragon's corpse. If it's not far away, then it's very likely that it's in this hall. Lu Ming said. That's right. Shui Xian nodded. Then let's hurry up and find them. When those guys come back, we'll have nothing to do with them. Tian Shui said. Then, he rushed out and looked around to see if there were any hidden doors. Lu Ming and Xuanixin also looked around. However, no matter how many people looked around the hall, they didn't find anything. Could it be under the dragon coffin? At this moment, Lu Ming looked at the dragon coffin. Xuanixin's eyes lit up and said, That's possible. If it was under the dragon coffin, wouldn't it be the closest to the black true dragon? Haha, hurry up. Tian Shui rushed over and pressed his palms on the dragon coffin. His muscles bulged as he pushed with great force. Rumble. The huge dragon coffin was pushed up by Tian Shui. Lu Ming and Xuanixin also went over to help. The three of them worked together to move the dragon coffin. There's a door indeed. When the dragon coffin was moved, their eyes lit up. There was obviously a door under the dragon coffin. They could see that the true dragon's treasury was probably below. Break this door. A huge hammer appeared in Tian Shui's hand. Wait a minute. Lu Ming called out. Then, his glabella lit up. Dense inscriptions appeared in the void, forming a large formation. This formation could isolate sound. This was the inscription of the second body. It was inscribing the formation through Lu Ming. Junior brother is still the most thoughtful. Tian Shui grinned, picked up the huge hammer, and smashed it heavily on the door on the ground. Boom! The huge hammer smashed down, and there was a loud explosion. If not for the soundproof formation, it would definitely alarm the people outside. However, when the huge hammer smashed down, the door on the ground was completely fine, only leaving a faint mark. It's so hard. I don't believe it. Again. Tian Shui continued to pick up the huge hammer and smashed it down again. However, it was useless. It did not budge. Tian Shui smashed it 7 or 8 times in a row, but the result was the same. No, I can't open it at all. Tian Shui said helplessly. This door can only be opened with a special method. Brute force is useless. Lu Ming observed carefully. I've heard that some true dragons will use their own blood as a key to seal the door of the treasure vault. Try my blood. Xuanxin thought for a while and said. Then, Xuanxin waved her hand and cut a wound on her arm. Sparkling blood dripped onto the ground. Rumble. The ground suddenly shook, and there was a rumbling sound. Then, the door on the ground opened to both sides, revealing an underground secret chamber. As soon as the door opened, a bright light spread out from below. It's open. Let's go down. The three of them flew down with shining eyes. Below them was a secret chamber. As soon as they went down, the three of them were stunned. Treasures. They were all treasures. At a glance, they were all treasures piled up like mountains. There were all kinds of shiny refining materials. Some were for refining spiritual weapons, and some were for refining sacred weapons. However, they all had one thing in common, which was that they were shining brightly. There were also all kinds of spiritual weapons. Lu Ming looked around and found that there were spiritual weapons of all levels. There were even low-level spiritual weapons. Each of them was shining brightly. Some of the spiritual treasures were even embedded with gems. He even saw piles of night pearl. Of course, there were also piles of origin stones. However, Lu Ming's gaze was fixed on the dozen balls of light floating in the air. Sacred weapons. More than a dozen balls of light. All of them sacred weapons. More than a dozen sacred weapons. Lu Ming's heart raced. Let's put them away quickly, Lu Ming said. If the Divine Sun and the others found out, they would not have a share. Yes, let's put them away quickly. We'll sort them out when we get out, Tian Shui said. Chapter 15:14. In less than a minute, the entire treasury was emptied. Nothing was left. Let's go. After that, the three of them rushed out of the treasury. Without any hesitation, they flew out through the hole created by the true dragon. Boom, boom. In the outside world, the battle was still ongoing above the Qilong Lake. The deity, Wang Jian, and the others were still besieging the black true dragon's corpse. Roar. The black true dragon's body was emitting a black light, as if a black flame was burning. Its combat strength was even stronger than before. The true dragon's corpse is burning the mark to increase its combat strength, but soon, the mark will disappear, and the true dragon's corpse will have no power to resist. Xuanning thought. The three of them flew to the side of the Qilong Lake and watched from afar. The deity controlled the white jade hall like the Son of God. He was bathed in holy light and constantly bombarded the black true dragon. As for Wang Jian, a battle sword floated above his head. It was obviously a sacred weapon. Beams of terrifying sword light slashed at the black true dragon. As for the other experts, they could only watch from afar. They could not interfere at all. Roar. The black true dragon suddenly roared. Two dragon horns flew out from its head and rapidly grew in size. In the end, they turned into two sky-piercing blades and slashed at the deity and Wang Jian. Clang, clang. The deity's white jade pagoda and Wang Jian's battle sword were sent flying by the dragon horns. The deity and Wang Jian's body shook, and they were forced to retreat. Roar. The black true dragon roared angrily. Its body twisted and rushed into the distance. You want to leave? Dream on. The deity roared. He controlled the white jade pagoda and heavily bombarded one of the dragon horns. The dragon horn was sent flying. Its light dimmed, and it quickly shrank. The deity rushed over and grabbed the dragon horn in his hand. On the other side, Wang Jian also grabbed a dragon horn in his hand. The two of them put away the dragon horns and turned into beams of light, chasing after the black true dragon. There are dragon scales over there. They're mine. As soon as the deity and Wang Jian left, the rest of the people rioted. In the battle just now, many dragon scales had fallen off the black true dragon. If these dragon scales were refined into defensive armor, they would definitely be rare treasures. The experts below all pounced on the 5 or 6 dragon scales one after another. A chaotic battle broke out at the scene. From time to time, experts would scream miserably as they were killed here. Senior brother, senior sister, let's go, Lu Ming said to Tian Shui and Xuanxin. They had gained a lot on this trip. They had emptied the treasury of a saint-stage true dragon. It could be said that they were the biggest winners. This trip was worth it. There was no point in staying here any longer. All right. Tian Chue took out the sky-piercing flying shuttle, and the three of them entered it. The sky-piercing flying shuttle broke through the air and entered the baleful Qi. Not long after Lu Ming and the others left, the deity and Wang Jian returned with cold faces. It was especially so for the divine child, whose body emanated cold killing intent. Clearly, their harvest was not good. It was very likely that they had lost the black dragon. Die. The deity's entire body seemed to have turned into a long spear, piercing through the void and charging toward the cultivators who were fighting over the dragon scales. Pucci, LV9 Martial Royal Realm expert, was pierced by the divine sun and died on the spot. Today, none of you will be able to leave, the deity said coldly. The deity's spear of punishment pierced through the void and another expert was killed. Previously, in the Dragon Palace, he had used the inscription scroll of the god's forbidden void to imprison the black dragon. That way, the black dragon would not be able to escape and would be destroyed by him. The deity's mark would be destroyed and the true dragon's corpse would be his. However, at the critical moment, he had been disturbed. Someone had destroyed the inscription scroll of the god's forbidden void, allowing the black dragon to escape. The inscription scroll of the god's forbidden void was an ancient inscription scroll that he had obtained by chance. It was extremely precious. However, if he could obtain the saint-stage true dragon's corpse, it would be a great gain. However, he had not obtained the saint-stage true dragon's corpse, and the god's forbidden void ancient talisman had been wasted. This made him extremely murderous. Needless to say, the person who had destroyed the inscription scroll was among those who had entered the Dragon Palace. Therefore, the deity had started a massacre. Pucci. One by one, the experts were killed by the deity. The deity has gone mad. Run! The remaining experts fled in all directions. Don't even think about leaving, the deity said coldly. The white jade pagoda flew out and became the size of a mountain. The remaining people screamed miserably as their bodies exploded. Their bodies and souls were destroyed. The dozen experts who had entered the Dragon Palace were all killed by the deity in an instant, except for Wang Jian. Where are the three ants from the Dragon God Valley? The deity looked around and did not see Lu Ming and the other two. However, he was not too concerned. He did not think that the three of them, who were at most level 5 Martial Royal Realm, would be able to destroy his god's forbidden void ancient talisman. Ho ho, deity, you have suffered a double loss today. Wang Jian sneered not far away. Humph, you'd better shut up. Otherwise, I'll kill you too. The deity said coldly. You can give it a try. Wang Jian said with fighting spirit. A fierce light flashed in the deity's eyes. However, he did not attack. Wang Jian's cultivation was at the same level as his and he was also a peerless genius. It would not be easy for him to kill Wang Jian. The deity harumphed and took a step forward. He rushed into the Dragon Palace through the hole. He wanted to see if there were any treasures left in the Dragon Palace. As soon as he rushed in, his expression changed. He saw the dragon coffin being moved and the door under it. Empty treasury. Damn it. It's the treasury of the true dragon. The deity growled. A sword glow flashed and Wang Jian appeared. He glanced around and said in a cold voice, "It seems like our hard work has been taken advantage of by someone else." Following this, the two of them rushed into the treasury. Their bodies emitted a cold murderous intent as they stared at the empty treasury. This time, they had worked so hard but in the end, they had not obtained anything other than a dragon horn and a few dragon scales. Even the most important treasury of the true dragon had been taken away by someone else. In particular, the deity had lost an ancient talisman. Who is it? The deity roared furiously. His murderous intent was as sharp as a knife. Then, he flew out of the treasury and stood on the door of the treasury, carefully examining it. Blood of the true dragon. No wonder it can open the door of the treasury. The deity sensed the blood left behind by Xuaning sheen on the door. His eyes flickered with a cold light. Blood of the true dragon. It's the dragon from the divine Dragon Valley. It's those three ants. How dare they steal the empty treasury under my nose? They must have a death wish. After a while, the deity said in a cold voice, How dare they? Wang Jian said coldly. Then, he turned into a sword glow and left the place. Following this, the deity stepped into the air with murderous intent. Chapter 15:15. Lu Ming and the other two took the flying shuttle and flew out of the area with the sinister aura very quickly. After flying out of the baleful aura area, the Skyhammer changed its direction and flew towards the Tsang Mountains. As the shuttle flew, Lu Ming and the other two took out the treasures from the Dragon Palace treasury and began to divide them. First of all, there was a large pile of refining materials. There were all kinds of refining materials, both low-grade and high-grade. Xuanxin specifically picked the shiny refining materials. Lu Ming and Tian Shui were casual. After Xuanxin was done picking, the two of them divided the materials casually and kept them. It was the same for Xuanxin. She specially picked out the shiny and beautiful spirit weapons. As for those night-luminescent pearls, jade, and other gemstones that were useless to Lu Ming and Tian Shui, Xuanxin's eyes lit up. Lu Ming and Tian Shui were speechless. Finally, there were the holy weapons. There were a total of 13 holy weapons floating in the shuttle, emitting mysterious waves. The 13 sacred weapons were all bright sacred weapons. After all, a great saint weapon was too rare. In the Tsang province, it was an extremely rare item. There are 13 holy weapons in total. We each get 4, and the last one goes to 8th senior sister. This time, if it weren't for her, we wouldn't have been able to open the door of the treasury. 7th senior brother, what do you think? Lu Ming said. Of course. Skyhammer grinned. If I get one more, how can I accept it? Xuanxin said. But her eyes were already fixed on a long sword. This long sword was inlaid with 7 different colored gems. It was very beautiful. Lu Ming smiled and said, Senior sister, you pick first. I want this sword. As soon as Lu Ming finished speaking, Xuanxin grabbed the sword in her hand and couldn't bear to let it go. You guys pick. This sword is enough for me. The rest is up to you. Xuanxin said. Then this hammer is mine. Tian Shui had his eyes on a purple gold hammer. He grabbed it in his hand and was quite satisfied. The handle of this hammer is too short. Looks like I'll have to find an inscriber to refine it. Tian Shui waved the big hammer a few times and was very happy. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed a spear in his hand. This long spear was completely black, and there was a black dragon coiling around it. It looked very mysterious and domineering. I've finally gotten a saint weapon spear. Lu Ming broke into a smile. If he used the saint weapon spear, the power of the 13 strikes would definitely be even stronger. Unfortunately, there was no glove-type saint weapon among the 13. Now that the 3 had obtained holy weapons, they were very happy. Then, they casually chose the remaining holy weapons. Lu Ming picked 3 more, and so did Tian Shui. Xuanxin kept the remaining 4. This trip could be said to be a bountiful harvest. Putting everything else aside, just a single saint artifact was worth 1,000,000 contribution points. How many treasures could he exchange for with that amount of contribution points? As for Nirvana pills, he could probably exchange for a bunch of them. This spear shall be called the Black Dragon Spear. It'll last me for a while. I wonder when the Infinite Dragon Spear will be upgraded to a saint weapon. Lu Ming muttered to himself. At this moment, Ming Lian's second body came out of the mountain river diagram with the Infinite Dragon Spear floating in his hand. Pieces of precious refining materials were wrapped in golden spiritual fire and slowly merged into the Infinite Dragon Spear. Right now, Lu Ming had a lot of precious refining materials in his hands. As long as he continued to integrate precious metal materials into the Infinite Dragon Spear, it would level up. When he was not refining his second body, he would refine the Infinite Dragon Spear. I'll refine this Black Dragon Spear while I'm on the road. Lu Ming held the Infinite Dragon Spear and was about to input his ethereal force. Buzz. At this moment, the Black Dragon Spear vibrated slightly. Buzz. Buzz. Then, the Black Dragon Spear vibrated more and more violently. The body of the spear glowed, and the black dragon coiling around it seemed to come alive. What's going on? Xuanxin and Tian Shui both looked over curiously. I don't know. The spear suddenly vibrated on its own. Lu Ming said, Buzz. The black dragon's spear vibrated and floated in the air. The tip of the spear automatically pointed in a direction. The tip of the spear is pointing in a direction. What's going on? Is there something in that direction that's attracting the black dragon spear? Lu Ming guessed. As the sky-piercing flying shuttle flew forward, the tip of the black dragon spear also turned slightly, but it always pointed in one direction. There was definitely something in that direction that was attracting the black dragon spear. Junior brother, let's go and take a look, Xuanxin said. Okay, but we can't take the sky-piercing flying shuttle, Lu Ming said. The black dragon spear belonged to the black dragon of the Dragon Palace. The black dragon spear's abnormality might have something to do with the black dragon. However, they had seen the Divine Sun and Wang Jian chasing after the black dragon. If the Divine Sun and Wang Jian were in front of them, they had to be careful. The three of them got off the sky-piercing flying shuttle. Tian Shui put away the sky-piercing flying shuttle. The three of them concealed their auras and flew forward according to the black dragon spear's instructions. The more they flew, the more the black dragon spear buzzed. Soon, they flew into a mountain range. That's the body of the saint-level black dragon, Xuanxin exclaimed. Lu Ming and Tian Shui looked in the same direction at the same time. In a mountain valley, a huge black dragon was lying there quietly. It did not emit any aura and did not move at all. The body of the saint-level black dragon escaped. The Divine Sun and the others didn't catch it. Xuanxin's eyes lit up. The mark on its body has completely disappeared, Lu Ming sensed and said. After the battle with the Divine Sun and the others, the immortal mark on the black dragon's body had disappeared. It was now a real dragon corpse. The three of them flew down the valley. Lu Ming and Tian Shui looked at each other with burning flames in their eyes. Eighth junior sister, this. Tian Shui hesitated, not knowing what to say. The dragon's corpse was priceless, but Xuanxin was a real dragon, just like the black dragon. If they touched the dragon's corpse, what would Xuanxin think? Therefore, Lu Ming and Tian Shui were hesitant. Are you worried about me? You don't have to. Cultivation, whether for humans or monsters, is about plundering. Plundering the chi of heaven and earth, plundering the heaven and earth, plundering other people, even if they're of the same race. Besides, this is a black dragon, which is not of the same race as me, Xuanxin said. Then, a sacred weapon appeared in Xuanxin's hand. She stabbed the dragon head and dug out a crystal from the dragon head. Dragon crystals were formed when true dragons entered the saint level, just like the saint heart of a human martial artist. This dragon crystal is mine. It'll be of great help to my cultivation, Xuanxin said. Okay, haha, junior brother. What do you need? Tian Shui asked Lu Ming. I just need some dragon bones, Lu Ming said. Dragon bones from a true dragon were second only to true dragon blood essence for Lu Ming to cultivate the dragon god battle body. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.